You know what I've learned after all these years? The most powerful relationship you will ever have is the one you have with yourself. And yet so many people, especially seniors, are afraid of being alone. But what if I told you that being alone doesn't have to mean being lonely? What if solitude could become your greatest teacher, your deepest comfort, even your joy? Ladies and gentlemen, today I want to discuss a topic that many people find difficult: being alone. But not only being happy alone. You see, we tend to think that being surrounded by others, whether they be friends, family, or a spouse, is a sign of happiness. But the reality is that true pleasure, the lasting kind, is discovered within you, not in other people. True happiness is frequently misinterpreted, with many individuals believing that it originates from friends, family, romantic partners, or other outside sources. We are raised with the belief that contentment is dependent on something or someone outside of ourselves, whether it be money, achievement, or social acceptability. Yet this way of thinking results in an endless race. The truth is that the foundation of learning to be happy alone is self-reliance. When you learn to rely on yourself for emotional support, you find a reservoir of strength that no one else can offer. Understanding that your inner happiness and fulfillment should come from within is what self-reliance is all about. Many of us look to those around us for validation, approval, or even a sense of identity. We feel safe when someone loves us, when friends compliment us, or when society gives us a thumbs up. But what happens when those outside sources vanish? When friendships drift away, or when societal expectations change? Since our happiness depends on events outside of our control, relying on others to maintain our sense of well-being is a precarious existence. While relationships and social ties are undoubtedly important, they cannot be the only things supporting your happiness. Without self-reliance, we feel lost and emotionally vulnerable. What you require is a foundation based on your own abilities, confidence, and sense of self-worth. When you depend on yourself, you take charge of your happiness and stop depending for someone else to make you feel better or keep you afloat. You become the source of your own emotional stability, which gives you a sense of strength. One essential component of self-reliance is emotional independence, which is a difficult to match form of freedom. When you're emotionally independent, you don't need constant affirmation from others to feel good about yourself or to tell you that you're valuable, capable, or deserving of happiness. You already know these things and remind yourself of them when needed, so you become your own source of motivation and encouragement. This doesn't mean that you cut off relationships with people or avoid emotional connections. Being emotionally independent also entails accepting accountability for your own emotions. Many times we turn to other people to make us feel better because we expect them to cheer us up and take away our annoyance or unhappiness, but in reality, happiness comes from within. Work, you learn to process your emotions and realize that you are in charge of controlling them when you emotionally rely on yourself. Overcome obstacles and figure out how to console yourself without relying on others to do it for you. Building your own sense of self-worth is another crucial aspect of self-reliance. Many people struggle with this because they base their value on what other people think of them. But when you're self-reliant, your worth is determined by your own sense of who you are, and you realize that you're enough just the way you are without needing validation from others. This sense of self-worth enables you to feel good about yourself even when you're by yourself, because you don't need other people's approval. Resilience is another benefit of self-reliance. When you rely on yourself, you build the mental and emotional fortitude to overcome obstacles. Because you've established a strong foundation within yourself, you know that you possess the ability to overcome obstacles. And that belief gives you the strength to keep going forward, even when things get difficult. As a result, you don't give up at the first indication of problems, someone else to come to your aid or fix your issues. When you're not continuously looking for other people's approval or validation, you have the freedom to explore your own desires, values, and goals. You also start to live life on your own terms instead of trying to fit into someone else's expectations or standards. You're completely capable of doing that on your own. As you become more self-reliant, you also gain a deeper understanding of who you are. When you learn to rely on yourself emotionally, you become less affected by life's highs and lows, and aren't shaken by other people's opinions or actions because your happiness isn't tied to them. You're steady, grounded, and secure in the knowledge that you have everything you need within yourself. The next time you find yourself feeling alone, remember that self-reliance is your greatest asset. You don't need to wait for someone else to make you happy because you have the power to create that happiness within yourself. It's a kind of strength that can't be taken away, and once you have it, you won't ever fear being alone. Once more, in our fast-paced, noisy world, when continuous communication and contact are viewed as indicators of success and fulfillment, stillness is frequently misinterpreted and feared. We feel as though we must constantly be connected and surrounded by noise due to social media, phone notifications, and the constant flow of information. But what if I told you that genuine clarity, comprehension, and progress originate from quiet moments? While we discuss learning to be happy alone, quiet becomes a crucial element. Quiet is not merely the absence of sound, it is the presence of insight and the stillness where you can meet yourself in ways that are impossible while you're continuously interacting with the outer world. Because they fear what they might hear in the silence, many people try to avoid being alone by packing their days full of activities, people, and diversions in the hopes that busyness will block out any uncomfortable thoughts or feelings that may arise. However, this avoidance only postpones the inevitable. Eventually, the noise fades and you are left alone, and the silence that you may have been trying to avoid is still there, waiting for you to interact with it. Silence brings clarity and compels us to face our thoughts, our feelings, and most importantly, our truth. When there's no external distraction, we are left to reflect on who we are, what we want, and what really matters to us. It is during these quiet moments that we can have the most honest conversations with ourselves. These are not conversations filled with noise or judgment from the outside world, but internal dialogues that reveal our deepest desires, our fears, and our strengths in silence. You are not performing for anyone, you are simply being. This space allows you to listen to your intuition and truly understand what drives you. Being alone in silence also gives us the opportunity to separate our true selves from the identities that society, family, or friends may have imposed on us. We all carry layers of expectations placed upon us by others, and these layers can obscure who we really are. In the hustle and bustle of life, we often play roles: son, daughter, friend, partner, employee, each with its own set of expectations. But in the quiet, there are no roles to play. You get to strip away these layers and connect with the core of your being. When no one is looking, you begin to realize who you are and discover your own self. Clarity. When you're always preoccupied, you may not process your feelings completely. You may repress sadness, avoid anger, or ignore happy times. However, when you're alone, these feelings can emerge to the surface, giving you the opportunity to fully experience them, comprehend their origins, and work through them. Growth requires clarity because it enables you to get over unresolved emotions that might have been preventing you from moving forward. In a world that is always telling you to keep going, keep accomplishing, keep connecting, silence is a radical act of self-care and self-awareness. Therefore, don't fear silence. Embrace it and use it as a tool to gain insight into your life and your purpose. Silence is where you can plant the seeds of change, reflect on your journey, and envision the path forward. Additionally, it allows you to make decisions that come from a place of clarity and authenticity. Responses to inquiries. You are unaware that you are asking, but it's the realization that contentment, happiness, and peace are not found in the noise outside. Rather, it's in the stillness that brings clarity, not because it's empty, but because it contains the wisdom you've been carrying inside of you all along. You just need to pause, listen, and accept it. Many people avoid spending time alone because they feel inadequate, but silence can be a source of strength when you realize that you don't need constant affirmation or input from others to know who you are and what you want. You've gained clarity, and clarity gives you confidence. You're no longer afraid of being alone because you've learned that you are enough. Loneliness and solitude, yet loneliness and solitude are not synonymous. Loneliness is a sensation of emptiness or isolation that is frequently associated with a sense of separation from other people. Conversely, isolation is a conscious decision to spend time alone. It is in alone that you might find not just tranquility, but Embracing solitude is a crucial step in learning to be happy alone. One of the biggest misconceptions about solitude is that it's something to be avoided, as if being alone means there's something wrong with you. Society tends to glorify being social, surrounded by friends and family, and having a constant stream of interactions. But while human connection is important, many people have lost sight of the value of solitude, which is where you can truly connect with yourself in ways that no external interaction can provide. By embracing solitude, you're giving yourself the gift of self-discovery without the distractions and noise of the outside world. In alone, you start to see things from your own point of view, rather than through the influence of others. You don't have to live up to expectations, no distractions guiding you in different ways or pressure to live up to someone else's expectations. Spending time alone enables you to get to know yourself more deeply because it's just you and your true self. Often we spend our lives so preoccupied with our connections with other people that we neglect to take care of our relationship with yourself. You can ask yourself significant questions when you're by yourself. What are my basic beliefs? And what do I truly want out of life? When you're surrounded by other people's thoughts, expectations, and judgments all the time, it's impossible to find the answers to questions like, what makes me happy and what brings me calm? You can only fully examine these facets of yourself in the peace and quiet of solitude. When we're surrounded by people and noise all the time, it's easy to ignore or push aside our emotions. Instead, we divert ourselves with conversations, social engagements, or even mindless phone scrolling. However, when you're alone, you have nowhere to hide and are left with your thoughts and feelings, which may be uncomfortable at first, but is where true growth occurs. Many individuals depend on others to assist them manage their emotions in order to validate their feelings, provide comfort, or offer solutions. However, solitude pushes you to sit with your feelings, understand them, and work through them in a healthy way. This process teaches you to become emotionally self-sufficient. Having a support network is vital, but so is learning how to control your emotions independently. By embracing solitude, you develop emotional resilience. You discover that you don't always require assistance from others. Encourage you when you're feeling low or to help you with your difficulties. You become your own source of support and stability when you're alone yourself, and you also gain more independence. Being by yourself teaches you to be independent, not only emotionally, but also in other areas of life. You learn to trust your own judgment, make decisions without seeking approval from others, and accept responsibility for your actions. This creates confidence because you realize that you are completely capable of managing life on your own terms and that you don't need to constantly look to others for guidance or validation because you already have everything you need within yourself. Additionally, solitude fosters creativity and improves problem-solving abilities. When you're by yourself, your mind is free to roam, and new concepts and solutions may come to you because you're not constrained by outside influences or other people's viewpoints. To reach their full creative potential, many of the greatest philosophers, artists, and innovators in history have adopted solitude. Another important advantage of isolation is the chance to relax and recharge. In today's society, when we're always connected and on, it's easy to become overwhelmed and burned out. It's during these times of solitude that inspiration hits and you start to see things in ways you hadn't before. Being alone provides a respite from demands of life, a chance to take a break from the constant interaction and just be alone. This gives you the opportunity to rest both physically and mentally and to regain your energy. You can practice self-care by journaling, taking a long walk, sitting in silence, or practicing meditation. This time alone helps you reset and return to the world feeling rejuvenated and ready to engage again. Learning to enjoy your own company makes you more selective about the relationships and social interactions you engage in. You no longer feel the need to fill every moment with people or activities just to avoid being alone. Instead, you start to value your time and only invest in people and experiences that truly add value to your life. Adopting solitude does not mean that you have to completely cut yourself off from the outside world. The road to self-acceptance and self-love is solitude. Spending time with yourself teaches you to value your imperfections and cultivates a profound sense of contentment that is independent of other people. When you discover that your happiness originates yourself rather than from outside sources, you become stronger, more resilient, and more at peace with both the outside world and yourself. For many individuals, being alone is seen as a gap that must be filled, feel uncomfortable when left to their own devices because they rely on external factors to define their happiness and sense of self-worth. However, true contentment and strength come when you learn to create joy for yourself regardless of who or what is around you. The ability to generate your own happiness is one of the most empowering skills you can develop. It's about shifting from needing others to entertain or validate you, to finding fulfillment from within. This internal reservoir of joy is what sustains you through life's inevitable challenges. And periods of solitude at the core of this concept is the realization that no one can make you truly happy except for yourself. We are often conditioned to believe that happiness comes from external sources, whether that's a relationship, career success, or social recognition. And while these things can certainly bring joy, they are fleeting if you don't already have a foundation of internal happiness. When you place the responsibility for your happiness on external factors, you give away your power. You become dependent on circumstances or people outside of your control. But when you cultivate joy from within, you reclaim that power. Creating joy for yourself starts with understanding what truly deepens your level of happiness. When you're by yourself, you have the time to delve deeper into what makes you happy. Not what society says should make you happy, but what truly lights you up. Many of us pursue relationships or hobbies because we believe they will make us happy, but frequently we haven't taken the time to truly reflect on whether they align with our values and desires. The secret is finding these tiny but important sources of joy that are specific to you. Once you've determined what makes you happy, the next step is to learn how to cultivate it. It could be as easy as reading a book, going for a walk in the outdoors, or picking up a new skill. This calls for intention and mindfulness. It's simple to get sucked into the grind of everyday life and concentrate solely on obligations and outside distractions, but when you make time for yourself, you're making an investment in your health, which could entail scheduling daily time for enjoyable pursuits. You can maintain a connection with yourself and the things that make you happy by practicing self-reflection or appreciation. Despite less than ideal environmental conditions, making oneself happy also entails altering your perspective on solitude. Rather than considering time alone as something to be avoided, consider it a chance for self-connection and self-care. Being by yourself allows you to concentrate on your own needs and wants without outside distractions. You can pursue new interests, establish personal objectives, or just unwind without feeling obligated to impress or amuse others. This change in viewpoint makes solitude a good thing rather than something to be feared. When you depend on other people to make you happy, foster's sense of independence is one of the most potent ways to make oneself happy. People might disappoint you, situations can change, and goals can fall short of your expectations, but you become resilient when you learn to make your own joy. Because your happiness isn't dependent on things you can't control. You realize that no matter what happens outside of you, you can find contentment within. This doesn't mean that life's challenges won't affect you, but it does mean that you'll be better able to handle them. Joy also allows you to show up more fully in your relationships when you're not dependent on others for your happiness. You're able to approach relationships from a place of abundance rather than me. You're not looking for someone else to complete you or fill a void. Instead, you can enjoy the relationship for what it is. This creates healthier, more balanced connections because there's no underlying sense of dependency. You're able to give and receive love freely without the fear that your happiness hinges on the other person's actions or approval. In learning to create joy for yourself, you also develop a greater sense of self-confidence when you realize that you don't need external validation to feel good about yourself. You stop seeking approval from others. You stop comparing yourself to people on social media or worrying about what others think. Instead, you start to trust your own judgment and value your own opinions. This confidence allows you to navigate life with a sense of ease because you know that no matter what happens, you have the ability to find joy and fulfillment within yourself. Another. Key element of creating joy for yourself is practicing gratitude. Gratitude shifts your focus from what's lacking in your life to what's already present and good. When you practice gratitude regularly, you train your mind to notice the small moments of joy that are often overlooked in the rush of daily life. It could be something as simple as the warmth of the sun on your face, a kind word from a stranger, or a personal achievement. These small moments add up and contribute to a broader sense of contentment and joy. Being able to generate your own happiness doesn't mean you won't ever feel sad, frustrated, or lonely. These emotions are part of the human experience, and it's important to acknowledge and process them. However, when you have the ability to create joy for yourself, these emotions don't define you. You know that even in difficult times, you have the tools to find moments of happiness and peace. This emotional resilience is what allows you to weather life's storms without losing your sense of self or falling into despair. Regaining your power and realizing that happiness is something you actively create rather than something that just happens to you is the goal of learning to create joy for yourself. This skill becomes stronger the more you practice it, and once you master it, you will no longer feel the need to seek out outside sources of happiness. One of the most beneficial results of learning to be happy alone is the development of self-reliance. As you become accustomed to solitude, you start to rely less on other people for your emotional well-being and more on your own inner strength, because you know that you are enough and have everything you need to be content, fulfilled, and at peace, regardless of who is in your life or what is going on around you. The journey towards self-reliance begins with realizing that you are your greatest resource. Too often we are conditioned to believe that our happiness, success, and security depend on external factors, such as relationships, career success, or societal approval. While these aspects of life are important, they shouldn't define who you are or determine your sense of self-worth. Self-reliance is about taking control of your life, trusting yourself, and understanding that you have the capability to navigate through challenges without constantly seeking validation or assistance from others. Excessive reliance on outside approval leaves you open to disappointment and instability. Relationships can end, jobs can change, and people can disappoint you, yet independence is stable and consistent because self-reliance originates internally. To develop self-reliance, you must first develop trust in yourself, which entails acknowledging your skills, talents, and abilities, and realizing that you are the one who can solve problems and make decisions. Many people doubt their own abilities because they are accustomed to waiting for others' approval or advice before acting. But there is nothing wrong with asking for help when necessary. To be self-reliant, you must gain the self-assurance to make decisions on your own, believing that you possess the skills and intuition necessary to do so. Through time and introspection, this trust is developed. Being alone is a great way to develop self-confidence because you have no one to turn to for quick advice or approval, so you have to rely on your own judgment. As a result, you learn to become comfortable making decisions on your own, even small ones like how to spend your free time or how to handle a minor issue. Over time, as you make more decisions on your own and observe the results, you develop a muscle of self-reliance. As your self-assurance increases, you start to believe that you can handle life's obstacles on your own without continual assistance from others. Emotional independence is another essential component of self-reliance that many individuals are used to on others, friends, family, or romantic partners for emotional support. While asking for help from those around you is normal and healthy, it's equally important to learn how to manage your emotions on your own. Emotional independence is the ability to process your feelings without needing someone else to validate them or make you feel better. It's about learning how to calm yourself when you're upset, to encourage yourself when you're feeling down, and to celebrate your accomplishments without needing external praise. This emotional independence is developed in solitude. When you spend time alone, you have the opportunity to sit with your emotions and work through them in a healthy way. Without being distracted by other people's thoughts or reactions, you can fully comprehend and process your feelings. You become more robust and self-assured as you learn to be your own source of comfort. This self-calming skill is immensely empowering since it eliminates the need for you to continuously rely on other people for emotional support. Self-reliance also entails accepting responsibility for your life. When things don't go your way, it's simple to point the finger at other people or outside forces, but when you become self-reliant, you realize that you are in charge of your own life. This doesn't mean that you have control over everything that happens to you, but it does mean that you are accountable for how you handle life's obstacles. You realize that you have the ability to change your situation and no longer view yourself as a victim of it, decisions that will affect your future. Being accountable for your activities is a necessary part of accepting responsibility for your life. One of the most important aspects of self-reliance is the ability to solve problems on your own. When you're accustomed to being surrounded by people, it's easy to rely on them for solutions, but when you're by yourself, you're forced to think critically and come up with your own answers. Self-reliant people don't make excuses or blame others when things go wrong. Instead, they acknowledge their mistakes, learn from them, and move forward. This level of accountability is empowering because it puts you in control of your own life. Instead of waiting for someone else to fix things for you, you're actively taking steps to create the life you want. This problem-solving skill is essential to self-reliance, since it shows you that you can handle challenges without relying on other people. You learn to solve difficulties on your own, become resourceful, inventive, and self-assured in your capacity to manage any obstacles that arise. You also build resilience. Life is full of unforeseen obstacles, and depending only on other people to get you through them might make you feel helpless. However, when you realize that you can solve problems on your own, you become much more robust in the face of adversity. Self-reliance is about empowerment. It's about realizing that you have everything you need within yourself to create a fulfilling and meaningful life. You don't need to rely on others for happiness, validation, or solutions because you are fully capable of providing those things for yourself. When you develop self-reliance, you become more confident, resilient, and independent. You no longer feel the need to seek constant approval or assistance from others because you know that you are strong enough to stand on your own. This is the true power of self-reliance. It gives you the freedom to live life on your own terms, knowing that you are enough no matter what. Being alone does not imply shunning connections or withdrawing from the outside world. Rather, it is learning to value your own company and realizing that solitude is necessary for personal development far too frequently. However, learning to be at ease in your own company enables you to connect with yourself on a deeper level, fostering a sense of self-awareness, inner peace, and emotional strength. When you embrace solitude, you're giving yourself the space to reflect, recharge, and grow without being surrounded by people. Outside distractions, in the hectic rush of daily life, it's easy to lose sight of your own thoughts, desires, and values as you get caught up in meeting the expectations of others. However, solitude removes the noise and allows you to listen to your own inner voice. You can ask yourself questions like, what do I really want? What are my passions? And what are the things that truly matter to me? These reflections help you discover your authentic self, separate from the identities or roles imposed by society or relationships. This is one of the most potent benefits of embracing solitude, the opportunity it offers for self-discovery. Additionally, solitude encourages creativity. Many of the greatest thinkers, artists, and innovators in history have attributed breakthroughs to times of solitude. When you're by yourself, your mind can wander freely, and without the constant barrage of other people's thoughts or opinions, creativity can flourish. You can use your own unique perspective and imagination to write, paint, solve problems, or come up with new ideas. In addition to encouraging creativity, solitude makes it possible to explore new possibilities without worrying about criticism or interruption, which promotes self-expression and personal development. Inventiveness, being with others, particularly in social or professional settings, may be taxing. You may feel under pressure to have discussions, live up to expectations, or handle interpersonal dynamics. However, solitude is a great tool for rejuvenating your energy. Human interaction is essential, but it can also drain your mental and emotional reserves. On the other hand, solitude provides an opportunity to rest and reset. By taking time for yourself, you can unwind and replenish your inner resources, enabling you to face the world with renewed concentration and energy. This recharge involves not only physical rest, but also mental and emotional rejuvenation. Spending time by yourself enables you to go through your thoughts, Analyze your feelings and return to a state of inner equilibrium. The development of inner calm is another significant advantage of choosing solitude. In today's hectic society, with distractions everywhere and a never-ending need for production, it's simple to feel overburdened. Spending time alone allows you to escape this chaos, since you are not bound to satisfy the demands or expectations of others. You can just be this. Inner serenity is found in stillness. You can practice mindfulness meditation or just sit in quiet during these times of seclusion to reestablish a connection with yourself in the here and now. You become emotionally stable. When you're at ease being by yourself, you become less reliant on other people for your emotional health and learn how to control your emotions without requiring continual assistance or a reliable foundation from outside sources. This reduces worry and stress and helps you develop emotional resilience. This resilience means you're better able to handle challenges, setbacks, or disappointments because you're not looking for outside sources to fix or alleviate your emotions. This emotional independence is empowering because it enables you to navigate life's challenges with greater strength and confidence. You understand that relationships and connections are important, but your happiness and sense of fulfillment ultimately come from within. When you spend time alone, you become more aware of what you need and what you can live with in relationships. You also realize that your well-being is just as important as anyone else's, which gives you the ability to set boundaries that protect your time, energy, and emotional health. When you embrace solitude, you stop depending on other people to fill your emotional void or to be your constant companion. Instead, you develop a strong sense of self-sufficiency that enables you to interact with people from a place of abundance rather than neediness, which results in healthier and more satisfying connections because you're sharing rather than looking for approval or emotional fulfillment from others. Your completeness with them, being by yourself, allows you to focus on yourself without passing judgment, which is another benefit of spending time alone. When you're around by people all the time, it's easy to fall into the trap of comparing yourself to others or looking for acceptance. You can think back on your past experiences, recognize your difficulties, and extend compassion and understanding to yourself. When you treat yourself with kindness and care, especially when you're by yourself, you develop self-compassion and become more gentle with yourself when things don't go as planned. This practice gives you a strong sense of inner strength and self-acceptance that permeates every aspect of your life. Paradoxically, spending more time alone makes you cherish and appreciate your interactions with others more. This is because solitude fosters a stronger connection with the world around you. Being alone helps you become more cognizant of who you are, which affects your relationships and experiences. When you're at ease with solitude, you stop seeing it as something to be avoided and instead see it as a necessary aspect of life. This change in viewpoint enables you to appreciate both your alone time and your time with others more, leading to a balanced and satisfying life. Being alone does not mean isolating oneself from the outside world, but rather developing a closer relationship with yourself involves learning to appreciate your own company and understanding that solitude is not a sign of inadequacy or loneliness, but rather a potent tool for self-discovery. In solitude, you can reflect, refuel, and reestablish a connection with your true self, which enables you to navigate life with self-assurance, creativity, and emotional resilience. Learning to be happy alone ultimately involves accepting solitude as a source of strength, self-awareness, and personal development. It is in these quiet moments of solitude that you gain the fortitude to confront life's obstacles and the tranquility to appreciate its beauty. It involves changing your perspective from seeing loneliness as a bad thing to seeing it as a chance to develop a deeper relationship with you, can recharge your energies, and find inner serenity while developing self-reliance, emotional independence, and creativity while you are alone. Accepting solitude is a path to wholeness that enables you to live a richer, more influential life on your own terms. It builds resilience, enables you to set healthier boundaries, and helps you practice self-compassion. In the end, when you feel at ease in your own company, you unlock a sense of fulfillment that doesn't depend on anyone else. You gain the ability to navigate life with confidence, knowing that your happiness and sense of worth come from within. So here's the truth, my friends. Being alone is not a punishment. It's an invitation to finally meet yourself, to nurture your spirit, and to discover that joy was never something you needed permission to claim. It was always within you, waiting to be uncovered. If you take nothing else from today, remember this: the seasons of solitude are not empty, they are fertile ground. Every moment you spend in your own company is a chance to plant seeds of self-love, wisdom, and unshakable peace. And when you do that, you'll realize you were never truly alone. You were always in the presence of someone extraordinary. You now go forward and live like you believe it.